all had your breakfast and probably lunch is very far from your thoughts, but at this point in time, this is a very critical one that I have to make. For members of the audience that have been given this sticker, please kindly check if you have been given this sticker in my hand. I hope that we can get a close-up of this sticker. Now, this sticker will entitle you, our selected members of the audience, to attend the royal banquet, which will be served in the hall just next door to where we are. So please do take note. If you have this sticker, you are invited to the royal banquet hall, which will be located at the hall just next to this one. So that is where your lunch will be awaiting you, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the proceedings for the first session this morning. Thank you kindly once again for being here. We are looking forward to hosting you. And we would like to invite all our guests who are still just outside the hall to kindly join us inside, and to please also take note to place your electronic devices on silent mode. Thank you. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please kindly rise. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen. Do kindly take your seats for a moment. Please kindly rise, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Mengumumkan keberangkatan Duli Yang Maha Mulia Paduka Seri Sultan Perak Darul Rizwan bersama Duli Yang Teramat Mulia Raja Muda Perak Darul Rizwan diiringi oleh Yang Amat Berhormat Menteri Besar Perak dan Yang Berbahagia Naib Chancellor Universiti Sultan Azlan Shah serta Dev-Dev kenamaan. Para hadirin dipersilakan duduk. Menghadap Duli Yang Maha Mulia Paduka Seri Sultan Perak Darul Rizwan Sultan Nazrin Muizzuddin Shah, Ibni Almarhum Sultan Azlan Muhibbuddin Shah Al-Maghfurlah. Ampun Tuanku, beribu-ribu ampun sembah patik mohon diampun. Patik bagi pihak penganjur The Fourth World Conference on Islamic Thought and Civilization 2017 dengan penuh hormat dan takzimnya merafak sembah menjunjung setinggi-tinggi kasih di atas limpah perkenan Duli Yang Maha Mulia Tuanku sudi mencemar Duli berangkat ke majlis pada hari ini. Sesungguhnya keberangkatan Duli Tuanku amat besar artinya kepada patik-patik sekalian dan akan menambahkan lagi seri majlis ini. Menghadap Duli Yang Teramat Mulia Raja Muda Perak Darul Rizwan Raja Jaafar Ibni Almarhum Raja Muda Musa, Ampun tuanku, beribu-ribu ampun sembah patik mohon diampun. Patik bagi pihak penganjur majlis dengan penuh hormat dan takzimnya merafak sembah menjunjung kasih di atas keberangkatan duli yang teramat mulia tuanku ke majlis perasmian the 4th World Conference on Islamic Thought and Civilization pada pagi ini. Ampun tuanku, patik mohon limpah perkenan duli-duli tuanku untuk patik mengacarakan majlis ini dan turut mengalu-alukan kehadiran tetamu yang lain dan meneruskan acara di dalam bahasa Inggeris. Ampun tuanku. Yang amat berhormat, Datuk Seri Diraja Dr. Zamri bin Abdul Kadir, Menteri Besar Perak Darul Rizwan. Yang amat berbahagia, Orang Kaya Bendahara Seri Maharaja Jeneral Datuk Seri Diraja Tan Sri Muhammad Zahidi bin Haji Zainuddin. His Excellency, the Ambassador of Thailand to Malaysia. Yang berbahagia Tan Sri Dr. Nordin bin Kardi, Naib Chancellor University Sultan Azlan Shah. Yang berhormat, ahli-ahli Majlis Mesyuarat Kerajaan Negeri Perak Darul Rizwan. Yang amat berbahagia, Orang Besar-Besar Negeri Perak Darul Rizwan. Yang berbahagia, ahli-ahli Dewan Negara Perak Darul Rizwan. Yang berbahagia, ahli-ahli Lembaga Pengarah USAS Berhad. Yang berbahagia, ahli-ahli Lembaga Pengarah USAS Berhad, ketua-ketua Jabatan Negeri dan Persekutuan, seterusnya dev-dev kenamaan, para pembentang serta tuan-tuan dan puan-puan peserta yang dihormati sekalian. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera dan selamat datang ke persidangan antarabangsa World Conference on Islamic Thought and Civilization yang keempat bertemakan Global Peace. Your Highnesses, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you to the opening ceremony of the 4th World Conference on Islamic Thought and Civilization 2017. Welcome and thank you for joining us at the Cash Arena at Meru Hotel Ipoh, Perak, Malaysia. We'd like to begin the ceremony by thanking Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for giving us the chance to gather in this beautiful ceremony for this event. Our theme for the year is Global Peace. We welcome our distinguished guests from the federal and state government, our distinguished panelists, presenters, and participants from all over the world. Selamat datang to the state of Perak. This conference is organized by University Sultan Azlan Shah, Malaysia, led by the Director of the Organizing Committee, Professor Dr. Wan Sabri Wan Yusuf. This is the 4th time the WCIT is organized in collaboration with the state government of Perak. In addition, on behalf of the Organizing Committee, we would like to thank the state government of Perak and our major sponsors for supporting this event. Thank you kindly. Your Highnesses, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, to bless the ceremony, our guest reciter, Puan Normalina binti Alias, the best Karya recipient at the 59th Malaysia International Al-Quran Recital and Memorization Assembly, will now recite the Quran from Surah Al-Hujurat, verse 13 to 16.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عسى أن يكونوا خيرا عسى أن يكونوا خيرا منهم ولا نساء من نساء عسى أن يكن خيرا منهن ولا تلمزوا أنفسكم ولا تنابزوا بالألقاب بئس الاسم الفسوق بعد الإيمان ومن لم يتب فأولئك هم الظالمون يا أيها الذين آمنوا اجتنبوا كثيرا من الظن اجتنبوا كثيرا من الظن إن بعض الظن إثم ولا تجسسوا ولا يغتب بعضكم بعضا أيحب أحدكم أن يأكل لحم أخيه ميتا أن يأكل لحم أخيه ميتا فكرهتموه واتقوا الله إن الله تواب رحيم يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير قالت الأعراب آمنا قل لم تؤمنوا ولكن قولوا أسلمنا ولما يدخل الإيمان في قلوبكم وإن تطيعوا الله ورسوله لا يلتكم من أعمالكم شيئا إن الله غفور رحيم صدق الله العظيم.
Thank you, Puan Normalina binti Alias, for the Quranic recitation. Your Highnesses, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the ceremony will now continue with the welcoming remarks from the Vice Chancellor of University, Sultan Azlan Shah. I would like to invite the Honorable Tan Sri Dr. Nordin bin Kardi to seek His Royal Highness's pleasure to present the welcoming remarks.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih kepada pengacara majlis. Ampun Tuanku, menghadap Duli Yang Maha Mulia Paduka Seri Sultan Perak Darul Ridwan, Sultan Nazrin Muizzuddin Shah Ibni Almarhum Sultan Azran Muhibbuddin Shah Al-Maghfurlah. Ampun Tuanku, beribu-ribu ampun, sembah patik mohon diampun. Patik selaku Naib Chancellor Universiti Sultan Azlan Shah dengan penuh hormat dan takzimnya merafak sembah menjunjung setinggi-tinggi kasih di atas limpah perkenan Duli Yang Maha Mulia Tuanku sudi mencemar duli berangkat ke majlis perasmian The Fourth World Conference on Islamic Thought and Civilization pada pagi yang permai ini. Sesungguhnya keberangkatan Duli Yang Maha Mulia Tuanku akan menambah seri lagi majlis ini dan amat besar artinya kepada patik dan hadirin sekalian. Ampun Tuanku, izinkan patik untuk mengalu-alukan keberangkatan Duli Yang Teramat Mulia Raja Muda Perak Darul Ridwan, Raja Ja'far Ibni Almarhum Raja Muda Musa. Menghadap Duli Yang Teramat Mulia Raja Muda Perak Darul Ridwan, Raja Ja'far Ibni Almarhum Raja Muda Musa. Ampun Tuanku, beribu ampun, sembah patik mohon diampun. Patik dengan penuh hormat dan takzimnya merafak sembah menjunjung kasih di atas keberangkatan Duli Yang Teramat Mulia Tuanku ke majlis perasmian The Fourth World Conference on Islamic Thought and Civilization pada pagi ini. Ampun Tuanku, patik mohon perkenan duli-duli Tuanku untuk turut mengalu-alukan tetamu yang hadir. Yang amat berhormat Datuk Seri Diraja Dr. Zamri bin Abdul Kadir, Menteri Besar Perak Darul Ridwan. Yang berbahagia Orang Kaya Bendahara Seri Maharaja Jeneral Datuk Seri Diraja Tan Sri Muhammad Zahidi Haji Zainuddin, His Excellency the Ambassador of Thailand to Malaysia, yang berhormat ahli-ahli mesyuarat Kerajaan Negeri Perak Darul Ridwan, yang amat berbahagia orang besar-besar Negeri Perak Darul Ridwan, yang berbahagia ahli-ahli Dewan Negara Perak Darul Ridwan, yang berbahagia ahli-ahli Lembaga Pengarah USAS Berhad, yang berbahagia ahli-ahli Lembaga Pengarah USAS Berhad, ketua-ketua Jabatan Negeri dan Persekutuan, distinguished guests, respected panelists, paper presenters, participants, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, please allow me to welcome you to the state of Perak Darul Ridwan. It is an honor for us at USAS to be able to host this conference for the fourth time and to have you here in this hall to discuss and deliberate the issues pertaining the present and the current ongoing of the planet Earth and its mankind. The theme of global peace has been chosen for this year's WCIT 2017 to indicate the dreams and aspiration from and for every person globally to find peace and together in creating a better living condition, peaceful environment, and definitely a greater future ahead. Your presence here means a lot to our collective commitment and responsibility towards the achievement of the objectives of this conference, which we believe will be constructive to the world at present and the future. Please have a good time and enjoy the conference with us. May our congregation of minds will show us ways in nurturing a brighter world, insyaAllah. Once again, welcome and thank you. Ampun Tuanku, sekian sahaja sembah ucapan patik. Patik sekali lagi dengan penuh hormat dan takzimnya merafak sembah menjunjung setinggi-tinggi kasih di atas limpah perkenan duli-duli Tuanku kerana sudi mencemar duli berangkat ke majlis perasmian The Fourth World Conference on Islamic Thought and Civilization pada pagi yang permai ini. Ampun Tuanku, beribu-ribu ampun, sembah patik mohon ampun, patik menjunjung kasih Tuanku.
Thank you, Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Dr. Nordin bin Kardi. Your Highnesses, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the ceremony will proceed with a welcoming speech by the Menteri Besar of Perak, Darul Rizwan. The Right Honourable Dato' Sri Diraja, Dr. Zamri bin Abdul Qadir will now seek His Royal Highness's pleasure to present the welcome address on behalf of the state government.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, salam Perak Aman Jaya. Menghadap Duli Yang Maha Mulia Sultan Nazrin Mu'izzuddin Shah Ibni Almarhum Sultan Azlam Muhibbuddin Shah Al-Maghfullah. Ampun Tuanku, patik mewakili hamba rakyat menjunjung kasih. Di atas perkenan Tuanku mencemar duli ke World Conference on Islamic Thought and Civilization dan menyampaikan titah utama diraja. Menghadap Duli Yang Teramat Mulia Raja Muda Perak Darul Ridwan Raja Ja'far Ibni Almarhum Raja Muda Musa. Ampun Tuanku, patik merafak sembah serta menjunjung kasih di atas keberangkatan Tuanku mengiringi keberangkatan Duli Yang Maha Mulia Paduka Seri Sultan Perak Darul Ridwan ke majlis yang bermakna ini. Ampun Tuanku, beribu-ribu ampun, sembah patik mohon diampun. Dengan penuh hormat dan takzimnya, patik mohon izin dan perkenan ke bawah Duli Yang Maha Mulia Tuanku untuk seterusnya menyampaikan ucapan buat para hadirin sekalian. Ampun Tuanku. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the people and the state of Perak, I would like to welcome all of you to the World Conference on Islamic Thought and Civilization 2017. We are deeply honored by His Royal Highness Tuanku August's presence today to grace the event and deliver the royal keynote address. Indeed, His Highness Tuanku's distinguished scholarly credentials and intellectual distinctions have inspired and strengthened our resolve to celebrate and disseminate knowledge as a traditions and culture of the state. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Perak, a microcosm of Malaysia, is a multi-confessional and multicultural state. All world's great religions such as Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, and others are present here. Therefore, for a society to be able to live in harmony, it must be built on a concrete foundation of mutual respect and trust. Our different religious traditions offer us many resources for this and teach us the importance of good relationships characterized by honesty, compassion, generosity, and love. Only then we can live in peace, prosperity, and non-violence. In recent times, Islam has been portrayed in unfavorable lights, which leads to, among others, Islamophobia. This demonization is a result of fear and prejudices fomented by global geopolitics, which seemingly problematize Muslims' identities and agencies. At the same time, the acts of killing, terror, and tortures under the name of Islam have raised the stereotype about Islam as a religion of violence and extreme. Realizing this, World Conference on Islamic Thought and Civilization, or WCIT, avails important and inclusive platform for discussion and deliberations of ideas, methods, and approaches in addressing global issues and finding non-hostile solutions. The conference also advocates opportunities for social exchange of inspiring insight and perspective, as well as foster appreciations, understanding, and acceptance of coexistence. The world aspires for unity, global peace, and non-violence. It is our fervent hopes that WCIT will be preferred discourse platform for more inclusive and diverse understanding of Islam while respecting others. May the message of Rahmatan lil Alameen, or mercy for all, and wasatiyah, or moderations, prevail. We wish all present an engaging conference. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, finally, let us extend our sincerest appreciation to Duli Yang Maha Mulia, Sultan Nazrin Muizzuddin Shah Ibni Al-Marhum, Sultan Azlan Muhibbuddin Shah Al-Maghfullah, for his royal patronage, counsels, and wisdom. Ampun tuanku, beribu ampun, sembah patik, mohon diampun. Demikianlah berakhirnya ucapan patik sempena majlis ini. Patik sekali lagi dengan penuh hormat dan ta'zimnya merafak sembah menjunjung kasih di atas limpah perkenan Duli tuanku mencemar Duli berangkat ke majlis perasmian World Conference on Islamic Thought and Civilization 2017. Patik mohon dengan segala kerendahan menyusun 10 jari. Jika ia tiada tertib, patik pohonkan keampunan, dan jika ia tiada hemah, patik pohonkan petunjuk. Patik menjunjung kasih tuanku, ampun tuanku. Sekian, wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Thank you, Dato' Sri Raja Dr. Zamri bin Abdul Qadir. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we've now come to the highlight of our ceremony today. The ceremony would like to invite the Honorable Tan Sri Dr. Nordin bin Kardi, the Vice Chancellor of University Sultan Azlan Shah, to entreat His Royal Highness, the Sultan of Perak, to grace the ceremony with his royal keynote speech and subsequently declare the 4th World Conference on Islamic Thoughts and Civilization 2017 to officially commence.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you to the 4th World Conference on Islamic Thought and Civilization. Of all the conferences I'm accustomed to, it always brings me great joy to attend this particular one because for me, it is like a homecoming. After all, this conference is hosted by none other than the university carrying the name of my late father, the 34th Sultan of Perak, Almarhum Sultan Azlan Shah, which is most dear to my heart. I am heartened to see, through the hosting of such conferences like this, the growing reputation of this Islamic university, Jamiah Azlaniyah, as it is known in Arabic. It is taking its rightful place alongside the other famous Islamic education institution in the royal town of Kuala Kangsar, namely Madrasah Idrisiyah, a pioneering Islamic school named after the 28th Sultan of Perak, Almarhum Sultan Idris I. They are most fortunate, for they are celebrating their 100th anniversary of their foundation this year in 2017. I pray that Azlaniyah too will take its place among the community of institutions in the Muslim world alongside Jamiah Al-Azhar and Jamiah Qorawin. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to shower His blessings on this relatively young institution for the next 100 years and beyond. Amen. This year, the conference will explore one of the most exciting, challenging, and important questions facing our world community today, that of how to achieve global peace. We can look forward to papers by excellent researchers from a wide variety of countries, institutions, and academic fields on subjects including social conflict and religious extremism, Islamic philosophy and the spiritual tradition, geostrategies, power, politics and the media, and education and youth. I want to begin by posing the question, how peaceful is our world today? According to the Global Peace Index, an annual measure of peace calculated by an independent, non-profit think tank based in Sydney, the world is slightly more peaceful in 2017 than it was in the previous year. 0.28% more peaceful, to be exact. This is the first time that the index has registered any improvement in global peace since the outbreak of the Syrian war in 2011. The figure, 0.28%, represents the global average of 163 separate states and territories, each of which has been individually scored according to a variety of indicators, including militarization, domestic and international conflict, and societal safety and security. Decreased militarization and a reduction in violent crime and homicide worldwide were the main drivers behind the improvement in the 2017 index. The withdrawal of US and UK troops from Afghanistan and the ceasefire between armed rebel groups and the Colombian government were events which contributed significantly to regional improvements. Overall, the 2017 Global Peace Index represents the cumulative effect of a number of small steps in the right direction. We may perhaps be justified in feeling cautiously optimistic about this figure, but there is still much work to be done. While the 2017 Global Peace Index registered a small improvement over the previous year, I must, however, draw attention to the report by the Institute for Economics and Peace, pointing out that the overall trend is still a downwards one. The world is less peaceful today than it was 10 years ago. Terrorism represents a substantial and intensifying threat to international harmony, spreading fear and mistrust and inflicting needless suffering on communities and individuals. According to the Global Peace Index report for 2017, there has been a 247% increase in the number of deaths caused by terrorism over the past decade, and there are no signs that the problem is diminishing. For instance, the research period for the 2017 index report does not even take into account 4 actual and attempted terror attacks in the United Kingdom between May and September of this year, including the Manchester Concert Arena bombing, in which 22 individuals lost their lives, and an incident in which a van was driven into a crowd of Muslims near a London mosque during Ramadan. Nor does the 2017 index account for the recent escalation of tensions between the United States and North Korea, with nuclear missiles representing a grave and ever-present threat to the global community and indeed to the future of our planet. With a 10-year downward trend of 2.14%, we see that a small one-year increase in the level of global peace is precarious at best. Another major factor contributing to this overall 10-year decline is the number of severe refugee crises which have developed over the past decade, brought about by domestic conflict, political terror, and religious persecution. Over 11 million people have been displaced from their homes by the war in Syria during the past 6 years. Not so far from here, in nearby Myanmar, the Rohingya crisis continues to worsen in what has been described by the United Nations, and I quote, as a textbook example of ethnic cleansing. Shocking satellite images have revealed hundreds of Rohingya villages burned to the ground and Rohingya people fleeing targeted military violence in Myanmar in their thousands. Of those who have been forced to flee, around 58% are children. It is surely hard to reconcile such figures and images with the notion that our world has grown even marginally more peaceful over the past year. Indeed, a significant problem noted by the Institute for Economics and Peace in their report on the 2017 Global Peace Index is the growing inequality in peace between the most and least peaceful countries. Not only are we faced with the long-standing problem of the unequal distribution of wealth between the richest and the poorest in the world, but we are also, it seems, witnessing the increasingly unequal distribution of global peace between, sadly, those countries that have and those countries that have not. I suggested at this conference 3 years ago that large swathes of the Muslim world are in great turmoil. And this is a statement borne out by the country-by-country breakdown in this year's Global Peace Index. Of the top 10 most peaceful countries in 2017, 7 are European, with Iceland, New Zealand, and Canada representing the other 3. Over half of the 10 least peaceful countries are Muslim-majority countries, including Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, and Yemen. The lives of people in these countries have been profoundly damaged by war and political turmoil, by poverty and loss. Our goal of achieving global peace, that is, peace which extends to every citizen in every country of our world, is clearly still a long way from being realized. As we reflect on these disparities in and the challenges to peace across the world, we must also take a moment to ask ourselves, what is global peace? What should peace look and feel like? The Global Peace Index represents a complex and comprehensive assessment of the various kinds of conflict taking place throughout the world. But as many of the world's leading proponents of peace, including Martin Luther King Jr. and former US President Barack Obama have argued, peace is not merely the absence of war. I would say that peace is also the absence of want and of fear. Peace is religious freedom and respect for different cultures. Peace is the acceptance, the understanding, and the celebration of diversity in all its many forms. In fact, I would further argue that a truly peaceful world is one characterized by 2 important Islamic values. Firstly, trust, amanah, and secondly, inclusivity. That is, to learn to live together by showing mercy. What the ulama call ta'ayush. In this regard, we must not forget that our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us that whosoever cannot be trusted has no iman of faith. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam also said, Those who show mercy have God's mercy shown to them. Therefore, have mercy on those here on earth, and those in heaven will have mercy on you. As we pursue our collective goal of global peace, we must keep these two principles always in mind, seeking not only to eradicate conflict, but also to establish a more trusting and inclusive world community in which each and every individual is valued and respected. Moreover, I would like to suggest that amanah, trust, and ta'ayush, inclusivity, as well as being the ultimate goals of global peace, are also the means by which peace might be achieved. A recent report by the United States Institute of Peace observed that inclusive peace processes are key to ending violent conflict. Peace processes, the report observes, can be critically undermined by societal fragmentation and the perceived or actual exclusion of certain groups from peace negotiations. On the other hand, a seemingly precarious peace agreement may be fundamentally strengthened by attempts to knit together the frayed fabric of a society damaged by internal or external conflict. Thus, in Nepal, a peace agreement which ended a 10-year civil war in 2006 was secured through a program which brought together the police and local communities in order to establish trust and to overcome underlying tensions and prejudices between the different groups. Indeed, as the Institute of Peace observes, trust is an essential ingredient in building peace, vital to ensuring that every citizen of a country or society recovering from conflict is committed to a peace that they believe works for them. Peace processes must therefore work particularly hard to include those individuals whose opinions have traditionally been marginalized or overlooked. In the Philippines, for example, efforts were made to involve nearly 3,000 women from a variety of social backgrounds in the Mindanao peace process, which Malaysia has helped to facilitate. The insights and concerns shared by these women during consultations prove fundamental to the peace process's development. I have spoken at this conference in the past about the vital importance of investing in our youth, for it is the younger generation who must become the stewards of our planet. The task of maintaining peace falls ultimately to the young, and therefore the young must be included in the process of establishing peace. In the case following the Nepalese civil war, the active engagement of young people in peace consultations in the southeastern district of the country led to an 80% decrease in violent youth demonstrations. This is just one small but significant example of the hugely positive impact of inclusivity upon the maintenance of peace. All peace processes would, I think, do well to follow such models, ensuring that no voices are marginalized in the gradual movement towards a more harmonious, tolerant, and conflict-free society. As the Vice President of South Sudan recently observed in an address to the United Nations General Assembly, peace is not a one-day affair or event. It requires our collective effort on a continuing basis. It is, I think, a testament to the importance of such collective efforts that the Nobel Peace Prize this year was won not by an outstanding and inspirational individual, but by an organization, the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons. ICAN is a global coalition representing over 100 countries, committed to the full prohibition of the most dangerous and destructive weapons on our planet. If there was ever an area in which trust and inclusivity were essential ingredients of the peace process, it is surely nuclear disarmament. Nuclear disarmament requires the fostering of trusting relationships, not just within a society or country, but between countries and across continents. The full achievement of such a goal relies, I think, on the creation of a truly global community, on the building of bridges which connect governments and citizens throughout the world. These bridges must be built internally between our leaders and those they govern, and externally, both among ourselves and between ourselves and the West. The bridges must all be strong and should reinforce each other. Together, they can contribute to reducing this key area of conflict and ensure a more peaceful future world. Trust and inclusivity are, I believe, vital to the establishment of global peace at local, national, and international levels. In the light of some of the statistics I shared at the beginning of this address, the creation of a harmonious global community might seem a very long way off, an impossible and unattainable ideal even. But, ladies and gentlemen, we must begin somewhere. So let us begin by imagining, as John Lennon did many years ago in that famous song. Imagine all the world living life in peace. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. Let us begin by trusting in one another and by living together and by having amanah and ta'ayush. As this conference brings together many of the world's leading Islamic thinkers, as well as non-Muslim writers on Islam, I have the utmost faith that it will initiate productive conversations, inspire insightful questions, and even start to explore some possible answers in our collective quest for global peace. There may be no overnight solutions, but guided by the core Islamic principles of toleration, and inclusivity, I believe that those of you gathered in this room will make real, valuable progress during the course of this conference. I am privileged to have co-chaired the United Nations High-Level Panel on Humanitarian Financing, which forwarded recommendations to the Secretary General of the United Nations. Those recommendations included utilizing the full potential of Islamic social finance, be it zakat, sukuk, wakaf, or sadaqah, to reduce the huge financial gap that exists in meeting the needs of people in crisis. We saw how insufficient funding can lead to more global instability. We believe that providing for people in need is not only morally right, but rather we should also see it as an investment in global stability to which we all can contribute. In my work as co-chair, I have learned that we need the humility to rediscover our sense of purpose. As eminent scholars on Islam, it will not come as a surprise to any of you to hear that the word Islam itself derives from the term salam, meaning peace. And equally, the Arabic term for trust, amanah, is also derived from another word in Arabic which conveys the meaning of peace, namely aman. And as this conference prepares to get underway, it is, I think, a vital and God-given point to emphasize. Islam is a religion rooted in peace, literally as well as spiritually. And I truly believe that this Fourth World Conference on Islamic Thought and Civilization can help to lead the way in the creation of a more trusting, inclusive, and ultimately peaceful global community. May God's peace and mercy be with you all. It is now my pleasure to officially declare this conference open. Wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Majlis menjunjung setinggi-tinggi kasih Tuanku. Your Highnesses, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the distinguished session will now commence. The panelists will deliberate and deliver their presentations on the topic of global peace will be Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Surin Pitsuwan, the former Secretary General of ASEAN, Sheikh Muhammad Yahya Al-Ninawi, the founding director of the Medina Institute USA, and Dato' Ayub Khan Maidin Piche, Chief Assistant Director of the Counterterrorism Division, PDRM. Also joining the session will be Colonel Ann Wright, retired U.S. Army Colonel and participant of the Gaza Flotilla Challenger 1. I would like to invite our panelists to kindly take the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, for the distinguished session, we have our panelists on stage. And we will begin with Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Surin Pitsuwan, the former Secretary General of ASEAN. Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri has been on the front lines of negotiating peace for many years, has served as a mediator, conflict negotiator, and has a wide array of experiences. He is firmly rooted and grounded in Islamic principles, and through his presentations you will be listening to a wealth of knowledge from an individual that is both well-traveled and well-experienced in the area of global peace. So, on that note, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in inviting Tan Sri, Dr. Surin Pitsuwan, to now deliberate on the topic.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Your Royal Highness Sultan Nazrin Shah of Perak Darul Ridwan, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a privilege to be invited to this conference for the second time. A friend of mine in Kuala Lumpur gave me a title. He said, in other places, people have diplomats in residence, poet on campus. You are a scholar on call. Meaning every time Your Royal Highness gave me an order, an invitation, I would have to come. Alhamdulillah. The topic that Your Royal Highness has already explored for all of us in width and in depth, world peace, is definitely the issue and the challenge that as humanity we have been facing from the very, very beginning. Because when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would like to create Adam alayhi salam, he was opposed by the shaitan. So the creation of man itself was out of contention. Inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifa. Allah said, we would like to create our vicegerent on earth. He was opposed. He was asked, why man? Man would create confusion, man would create troubles and conflicts and violence and war. And yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created man and woman. And I think the unfolding of history is nothing but the unfolding of the truth of the creation, of the choice and tension between God's will and human freedom. And I think all of us, all earth now, Your Royal Highness, 7.3 billion of us, are now facing a choice. Because the world is getting smaller, the world is more integrated, globalization has made the world more connected, as Your Royal Highness has said. But I would submit to you all that a connected world, an integrated world, is a very fragile world. it's a very, very dangerous world. Because problem anywhere, violence in any place, death in any corner of the earth diminishes us all. Because we are part of that humanity. So I think it is up to us, particularly if it is in the context of the Islamic thought and Islamic civilization, which is the theme of this conference. We have to ask what would be the contribution that 1/5 of humanity could make to create peace on earth, to bring about reconciliation, to bring about harmony and cooperation, because such is the mission of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we as inheritors of that mission, rahmatan lil alamin, symbol of the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to all of us. We have to ask many questions, as His Royal Highness has already asked. And let me ask this first question of all of you scholars. Thinkers in the Muslim world somehow could not practice their thinking in their own countries. A lot of them have to migrate out and to do it somewhere else where the space is more open for them. What's wrong with the Islamic space and Muslim space? Great thinking about the way out for humanity, for Muslims from now onward, may be coming from Oxford, maybe coming from Cambridge, maybe coming from Chicago, maybe coming from Harvard. We have to think about the condition and the system and the contexts that somehow we have arrived at or created or failed to create to nurture greater creativity among all of us so that we can respond to the call of this great civilization. First question, why is it great scholars have to migrate out of their own context to do their thinking somewhere else? The second question is, if we follow Al-Farabi, the great philosopher of Islam, born in Damascus, but traveling all over the Muslim world at that time, and looking for knowledge, seeking knowledge, all the way back to the Greeks, down to his present day of revealed religion of Islam. Al-Farabi took the advice of Socrates, the Greek philosopher, very, very seriously. And that advice is to be, again, what the Sultan had just mentioned to us, a sense of humility. There has to be a philosophical humility among us, particularly the ulama, particularly the elites of the Muslim world. That sense of humility, or what Socrates called philosophical humility, or intellectual humility, is nothing but to say that I know very little. I know that I know nothing even. And coming from the Pondok, sitting at the feet of my grandfather in the evening before he closed those Kitab Kuning, he always uttered that phrase, Wallahu A'lam. God knows best. What I was teaching you may be just 50% right and 50% wrong. What I have taught you may be even 70% wrong, 25% right, but Allah knows best. That is philosophical humility in the tradition of the Islamic education. But you look around the world, we look around the world now, people insist that they know all, they know the truth. They are the monopolizer of the truth and nobody else knows the truth. Therefore, we turn around and we pass a hukum. You are wrong, I am right. You are bid'ah, I am the truth. You are leading the ummah in the wrong way, I am doing it in the right way, everybody else is wrong. That is not a philosophical humility. That is not the ethos of Wallahu A'lam. So we must have philosophical humility among us so that we can give space to each other to think creatively, to philosophize even, and to come up with new ways to catch up with the changes, with the transformation, with the creativity, with the creation, with digital era. All these things are happening bypassing many of us, because a lot of us tend to believe that we know the best and we don't want to hear from anybody else. And I think the 3-4 ayat in the beginning set the tone very well, confirmed by the royal keynote and the chief minister, that Perak Darul Ridwan is a microcosm of the diversity of humanity. Inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha wa ja'alnakum shu'uban wa qaba'ila lita'arafu, to know each other. I would like to bring up one more issue as my last issue before you today, and that is Professor Hussein Nasr, an Iranian, could not write in Iran. He went to MIT, he went to Harvard, he is now teaching at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. One of the greatest Muslim thinkers alive. But he couldn't do it in Iran. He belongs to this comparative religious studies, and it is called Transcendental Unity of Religions. He said of the greatest religions, revealed religions, they are talking about the same thing. Talking about oneness of humanity, talking about compassion, talking about the importance of submission to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of God. Talking about humanity, talking about sharing, talking about honesty. At one level, all these great religions, transcendental unity of religions, they're talking about the same thing. But the world today is full of diversity. And followers of religion somehow got caught in the symbolisms of their religions. Because we use human language, because we use symbolism to communicate. And here is a story from a Sufi, spiritual practitioner of Islam, who gave an example to illustrate that many of us got caught in the symbolism of our religion. He said, if you use the index finger pointing at the moon, a dog would look at your finger, not knowing that that index finger is pointing at something beyond, higher and far away, the moon. He said an intelligent, rational human being would not look at the index finger, but would look at the moon, where symbolism is pointing to. Now, the problems that we are facing today is that you are right, I am wrong. You describe Jannah differently from me. I describe hell better than you. Oh, symbolizing the ideas of right and wrong, the idea of good and evil, the idea of what should be the righteous path forward and what kind of reward and redemption that you will get at the end of your journey on earth. A lot of these symbolisms led us to confusion and led us to fight each other. This series of conferences, this conference on Islamic thought and civilization is a reflection of the realization of the leaders and the leadership of this great state of Perak. And may I salute Your Royal Highness, being a Harvard man and an Oxford man like myself. May I salute you, Your Royal Highness, that you are a living aspirant. I haven't finished yet. Living aspirant of what? Living aspirant of what Abu Hamid al-Farabi called, Muhammad al-Farabi called al-Malik al-Falsafat, meaning philosopher king. And in the Quran, Allah invites us, orders us, admonishes us to listen to follow, and to respect. أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم. Those of you sitting on the front line are ulil amri minkum. People who have the affairs of your people in your hands, including Tan Sri Ismail Ghazali right here. Ghazali Ismail. أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم. You are the people of responsibility. And the need of the world for your wisdom, the call of the United Nations for your wisdom and guidance and leadership, Your Royal Highness, and your patronage of this very conference certainly reflects your aspiration as being that philosopher king for your people. And I think we are most fortunate to come every year to deliberate on different subjects under this theme. The theme of Islamic thought and Islamic civilization. How are we going to contribute to the rest of humanity? And this will have to begin with a leadership, with a vision. And this will have to begin with a sense of humility. And that is, here we know less than many others from around the world. We want to listen. And I think this is the beginning of knowledge. This is the beginning of the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for guidance into the future, for whatever we want to do. And the most challenging most challenging mission for all of us now is to bring peace, to bring harmony, to bring understanding to the global community, fitting to the name of Islam and the name of Amana and the name of inclusivity. Because 3.4 billion people on earth now, 2 billion more in less than 30 years. We need wisdom, we need guidance, and we need inspiration. And thank you, the Sultan, thank you, Perak Darul Ridwan, for giving us this forum to deliberate on this greatest mission for all mankind here in your capital, Ipoh. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Dr. Surin Pitsuwan. And next, we shall invite the founding director of the Medina Institute from the USA. Now, Sheikh Muhammad Yahya Al-Ninawi needs no introduction. He brings a balance of religion and science, being someone who's well trained in the field of microbiology. So please help me welcome Sheikh Muhammad Yahya Al-Ninawi, founding director of the Medina Institute of the USA.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. His Royal Highness, the Sultan of Perak Darul Rizwan, Sultan Nazreen Muizzuddin Shah Ibn al-Marhum, Sultan Azlan Muhibbuddin Shah al-Maghfur lah, the Raja Muda Perak, Raja Jafar bin al-Marhum, Raja Muda Musa, and Datu Seri, the Raja Dr. Zamri Abdul Qadir, the Mentri Besar of the great state of Perak. Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. I think both speeches talked about a lot, so I'm going to go straight through. But needless to mention that in a friendly banter with His Royal Highness before we entered the hall, he told me that Perak is your home. So I'm taking that literally. It's very nice to be back in Perak. And Allah Ta'ala keep it always Darul Ridwan forever and ever to come. And keep the beautiful people and the good people in Malaysia always as good as they are, and bless them with more and more. To go straight to the point, Islam spoke about peace and non-violence. But Islam did make a distinction between both and laid down foundation and practical examples for both peace and non-violence. For peace, Islam offered us love. What that means is Islam looks at peace as an environment that's conducive to love. And if it's not, then it's neither. And with that, Al-Quran Al-Kareem, for example, calls Allah Ta'ala, the name of Allah Ta'ala, the Lord of all, is As-Salam. Also, His name is Al-Wadud, the most loving. And As-Salam, obviously, coming from peace. But not only that, Al-Quran Al-Kareem calls Jannah, paradise, Darus Salam. Wallahu yad'u ila Daris Salam. The abode of peace. But the abode of peace is only an abode of love in reality. The love of God manifested in the best ways, and the love of the creation manifested in the best ways. In fact, the Prophet ﷺ, in a hadith that Imam Muslim narrated, he tells us this words, وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ, by Him who holds myself, you will never enter Jannah until you believe. And you will never believe until you love. ألا أدلكم, should I tell you about something? If you do, you will actually start loving each other. أفشوا السلام بينكم. Spread salam. Notice how then Islam is connected, peace and love, because they are connected and they may be actually used synonymously. When it comes to the scripture, unlike other faith systems, Christianity and other faith systems, Islam examines the lexical root of the word for exegesis, tafsir, not just the usage of the word. For example, the word Rahim and Rahmah came in the Quran describing Allah as Rahman, as Rahim. Came also in the Quran describing the Prophet ﷺ as Rahim, Ra'uf Rahim, and also describing the Quran as a book of Rahmah. But the word Rahim and Rahmah have a lexical root of Rahim, Ra, Ha, Mim, which means the mother's womb. You all know, though Allah, nothing is like Him, but the mother's womb does not just give mercy. The mother womb gives love before it gives mercy, nourishes before it just gives mercy, protects, kind, supports, everything, and most importantly, loves. So the name Rahman, the name Rahim for Allah Ta'ala, the name also Rahim for the Prophet ﷺ, and the book, the Quran, is a book of Rahmah. They all come down to boil down to the point of love. So in these beautiful atmospheres of love, kindness, and compassion, that's why it's erroneous to translate Rahman with merciful, because you're depriving the word from its lexical root. In these beautiful atmospheres of love and compassion, Islam enables us to find ourselves and lose ourselves at the same time. Islam makes love our true destiny. Darus Salam. We can never find the meaning of life without love, and we do not find the meaning of life by ourselves alone. We find it only with As-Salam, Allah, and we find it also with one another. Therefore, Islam teaches us that happiness in this world is not a matter of intensity as much as it is of balance, love, and harmony, which is another meaning for salam. For that, and because peace in the Islamic terminology is a very big word, very encompassing term, that may be misconstrued by people, Islam went straight to separate between peace and nonviolence and institutionalized nonviolence on all three levels of human behavior: the level of the thought, the level of the word, and the level of action, on a level of actions. To ensure delivery of the message and close any gaps of ambiguity in the understanding of the term peace. The reason for that is because the word or the term peace means different things to different people. To some, it means the absence of war. To others, it means a habitual inner gentleness or living in a harmonious world. But an American writer, Thomas Merton, wrote in the 60s, and I quote, "To some people, peace merely means the liberty to exploit other people without fear of retaliation or interference. To others, peace means the freedom to rob others without interruption. To still others, it means the leisure to devour the good of the earth without being compelled to interrupt their pleasures, to feed those whom their greed is starving. And to practically everybody," he says, "peace simply means the absence of any physical violence that might cast a shadow over lives devoted to the satisfaction of their animal appetites for comfort and pleasure," end quote. Well, nonviolence, in contrast, has both an inner intellectual and an outer behavioral dimension. The intellectual one is the most important, because violence does not come first on the action level, on the limbs. Violence is first born as an idea. Then it goes to the verbal level, then it goes to the action. It starts with the conviction that regardless of whether some forms of violence are morally permissible, as in self-defense, a higher and more perfect morality is to abjure all violence for any purpose, whatever, against anything or anyone, whatever, and by any means, whatever. So first of all, there has to be a moral ideology to which one then struggles to conform one's behavior. That's why Islam made nonviolence a priority of faith and a sign of it under the two main concepts of Islam, in Islam, as-salam and la ikrah fid-din, no coercion. One other potential difference between nonviolence and peace is that nonviolence has to be embraced on a personal level, person by person, and cannot be imposed by decree from above as a collective policy, for example. Therefore, nonviolence is more in the hands of intellectuals, thinkers, religious scholars, and activists, whereas peace is more in the hands of government. And it's the policies of the governments and educational objectives. Nonviolence can take multiple forms, as Quran shows us. Special form of nonviolence is the absorption of violence. One not only strives not to inflict violence on others, but one is also prepared to suffer the violence of others. We will see that if we have time to talk about Qabil and Habil, as in the Quran. This is different from pacifism that may avoid the infliction of violence, but does not necessarily entail a proactive commitment to nonviolence and the absorption of violence. Violence is one of many expressions of death-making, and Islam is salam, the exact opposite of that. Hence, it's life-giving, life transmission, and life enhancement. The practice of nonviolence, especially the absorption of violence of others, is incredibly difficult. There's an unnaturalness about it because of violent impulses and defenses of our bodily integrity and of our loved ones, ourselves. They're deeply embedded in our human nature. Accordingly, it is unnatural for us to be prepared to be victimized by others, to suffer, and to potentially incur grievous damage or even death, rather than simply employ violence to fend it off. Additionally, there are many people of peaceful disposition, and that's why Islam again makes a distinction between peace and nonviolence. There's many people of peaceful disposition who would gladly see peace in the world and would be prepared to function as peacemakers between contending parties. But for a variety of reasons, the vast majority of these people do not believe in nonviolence, where Islam wants us to go. Some of them believe in the minimization of violence, or in reducing certain kinds of violence, or merely stopping warfare. For instance, almost all the people who received the Nobel Peace Prize have either defended, promoted, or even commanded violence under all sorts of conditions. This speaks to the concept of peace, which is starkly different from the concept of nonviolence in Islam. Violence is as old as humanity, we all know it. And it's recounted in various mythologies. Those who believe, obviously Muslims, in Abrahamic faith systems, all believe in Adam and his wife. And we believe that Cain and Abel, obviously Cain, the older brother of Adam, killed Abel, the younger brother of Adam, out of a motive involving religion or religiosity. Something was accepted from someone and the other one's sacrifice was not accepted. So violence is as old as humanity itself. Some historians say we're all the children of Cain, which is not necessarily true. Let's hope we're not. All right. There's a couple of ayahs I'd like to go through, and then we'll finish with this. One, obviously, in Surah Hud, where Allah Ta'ala says, and أنشأكم من الأرض واستعمركم فيها. He, which means, the verse means, he asked you to استعمركم. He asked you to positively contribute to earth. And positively contribute to earth can never be through violence. And then Al-Quran Al-Kareem goes and talks about the story of the creation of Adam. And the creation of Adam, our father, was from clay, versus Satan, what we believe, Shaitan, was from fire. And upon that, in that sort of, these verses in the Quran, Satan refuses to salute Adam. And the citation for that refusal is, I am better than him. Ana khayrun min. I am better than him. He tells Allah, I am better than Adam. I was created from fire, and he's created from clay. From this story, I'm going to make a couple of conclusions. Number one, the father of racism, prejudice, ethnic superiority is no one else but Iblis, Shaitan. Because he thought, since he's made intrinsically from fire, fire is far superior than clay. And therefore, people who have prejudice just because of what they're made of, they're really Iblisi in their inclination, nothing else. Number two, that it's an Iblisi sort of tactic, because Allah never asked Iblis who's better amongst you. He asked him to salute Adam, but instead of saluting Adam, he went and said what? I am better than him. That was never the question. The question was never who's better. The question was salute. Did not. Third, sure, Iblis or Shaitan may have thought that fire is more important and more powerful than clay because it's powerful. But the power of fire, or firepower, is destructive. It burns everything and destroys everything. But what Iblis or Shaitan failed to understand is that Adam is made from clay, and clay is a massive power. Clay is a power of not destruction, but it's a power of building and construction. And there's a huge difference between the power of destruction and the power of construction and building. That's why you are the child of Adam, not the child of Iblis. You're not supposed to carry out Iblis's or Shaitan's mission by carrying out destruction, but you're supposed to carry out your father's mission by being constructive, not destructive. Another thing also we can take from that is that, sure, fire is a power of burning and death, but clay has water and soil, and water is a symbol of life. So Adam tries to give life. Iblis tries to burn life and take it away. The other example that I would like to bring real quick is the story of Adam. Allah Ta'ala tells us about the two children of Adam. One of them said, I will kill you, لَأَقْتُلَنَّكَ, I shall kill you. When two of them gave a sacrifice, accepted from one, not accepted from the other. In response, he says, I'll kill you. The brother told him, Allah accepts, which means Allah accepts from the righteous. It's not my problem that your sacrifice was not accepted. But then this is what he tells him. He says, if you are to extend your hand to kill me, I will not extend my hand in return to kill you. This is the Quranic example of violence and what we do. So it's a practical workshop. If you extend your hand to kill me, the Quran replies, which means, I will not extend my hand to kill you, for I fear Allah, the Lord of the world. So from this, we can take a couple of things. Number one, the logic or the culture of I will kill you will always exist. That's why the Quran put it there. It's not going to disappear with Cain and Abel. There will always be this logic of power versus the power of logic. Logic of power, might makes right. Power of logic is the line of the Anbiya. Al-Quran also shows us that the practical reply or the practical response to I will kill you is not to kill back, even though it's self-defense. In fact, Islam goes further to say that threatening someone with violence is impermissible, as the ayah tells you, and as the Prophet ﷺ also tells us in a hadith. In fact, the ayah goes even further to say that the human self is sacred even if it's oppressive, meaning that brother who wanted to kill his brother, it was not permissible for the brother to threaten to kill him, because the self is sacred even when it's oppressive and wrong. Also, the ayah shows us something very important, that the reason for war and violence throughout humanity, from the beginning of it till now, has got nothing to do with religion. It is greed, envy, and ambition. These are the causes of war and violence. But in order to sanitize these self-serving emotions, we cloak them in religious rhetoric. That's what mobilizes the people. Also, from the ayahs, we can take something, that jihad was never meant to mean transgression, udwan. Jihad does not mean transgression upon other people whatsoever. Also, Al-Quran Al-Kareem finishes this whole thing by reminding us with the most important elements of life: Iman billah ta'ala and peace. فَلْيَعْبُدُوا لِإِلَافِ قُرَيْشٍ إِلَافِهِمْ رِحْلَةَ الشِّتَاءِ وَالصَّيْفِ. Allah says, فَلْيَعْبُدُوا رَبَّ هَذَا الْبَيْتِ الَّذِي أَطْعَمَهُم مِّن جُوعٍ. He fed them from starvation, وَآمَنَهُم مِّن خَوْفٍ, and He gave them peace. Let me finish by saying this. As-Salam subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Lord of peace, wants us to live in peace, love, and compassion. Allah ta'ala wants us to work to end wars, violent conflicts, poverty, nuclear weapons, weapons of mass destructions, and start doing weapons of mass instruction instead, not weapons of mass destruction. Environmental destructions and systematic violence. The Lord of peace, as-Salam, is never glorified by human violence. On the contrary, He's glorified by non-violence, love, and peace. An authentic spiritual life in Islam requires creative non-violence. We can't claim to worship the Lord of peace, as-Salam, while we continue to support the false gods of violence and wars. If we wish to attain some spiritual integrity, we must also denounce the horrors of our age, such as all these things that are happening out there, from systemic racism to permanent warfare to greed, environmental destructions, and work actively to end them. We need to envision and pursue a new culture of love, compassion, and nonviolence. I think that As-Salam, Allah Ta'ala, commands us to turn back to Him, the Lord of peace, to renounce violence, embrace everyone as sister and brother, live at one with creation, enter a communion of peace, enjoy the fullness of life and nonviolence, and let love and compassion reign. I think that's the call. We need to start building a culture or a civilization of love. I think that's the calling. Assalamu alaikum. Shukran.
Thank you, Sheikh Muhammad Yahya Al-Ninawi. Moving forward, I'd like to introduce you to an individual who is on the front lines. Various de-radicalization and rehabilitation programs have been helmed by our next presenter, who is, of course, Dato Ayub Khan Maidin Piche, Senior Assistant Commissioner of the Royal Malaysia Police Force, now the head of Counter-Terrorism Division within the Royal Malaysia Police Force since 2014. He brings with him a wealth of experience in this field and is constantly defending the front lines against terrorism here in Malaysia. Please help me welcome Dato Ayub Khan Maidin Piche.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. His Royal Highness, Yang Maha Mulia Paduka Sri Sultan Nazrin Ghazuddin Shah Ibn Almarhum Sultan Azlan Muhibbuddin Shah Almarfullah. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning. Ampun Tuanku, my briefing today will touch on Malaysian strategies in countering terrorism. In addressing threat posed by extremists, militant and terrorist groups, the Malaysian government, through the Royal Malaysian Police, adopted various comprehensive strategies and approaches that preserve both national security and human rights simultaneously. Human rights advocates have occasionally criticized the Royal Malaysian Police for infringement of these rights in the course of countering terrorism. These accusations have remained as a mere allegation till today. We have been walking a very thin line, juggling to find a balance between preserving security and protecting human rights. Be what it may, for us it has been business as usual. The Royal Malaysian Police has prevented Malaysia from encountering large-scale attacks which are becoming common all over the world. And in doing so, it has safeguarded the rights of the general public for peace and security. As an enforcement agency, we ensure that any breach of anti-terrorism laws we will deal with firmness and professionalism. Daesh in 2012 drastically altered the security landscape of the world and created new challenges for many nations. Daesh caught everybody by surprise. No militant group has been as well as structured as Daesh, including Al-Qaeda. Its capabilities in disseminating ideology, recruitment drive, attack planning, social media exploitation, networking, and procurement of funds is remarkable. No country has been spared for the looming Daesh threat. Enforcement agencies have been on alert over a long period of time, not knowing when and where the next attacks will take place. The defeat and loss of territories experienced recently by Daesh in Iraq and Syria has not altered the international security scenario. Daesh continues to recruit new members and launch attacks through operatives from its stronghold in Middle East, South Asia, Southeast Asia, Europe, and United States. The new wave of attacks conducted in Spain, Pakistan, London, and United States clearly proves Daesh's ability in motivating new operatives inspired by Salafi jihadi ideology via social media to conduct terror attacks. The downfall of Daesh in Iraq and Syria has not completely stopped attack plots in Malaysia. The Royal Malaysian Police continues to detect and disrupt attempts by Malaysian Daesh cell members to launch malicious attacks in Malaysia. Latest is the arrest of 3 members of Daesh cells categorized as Wolfpack, which plan to launch attack on Oktoberfest celebration in Kuala Lumpur last month. We assess more Malaysians will be inspired and driven to carry out attacks in Malaysia in time to come. As mentioned earlier, the Royal Malaysian Police is very much involved in countering terrorism through soft and hard approaches. While many believe hard approach is relatively the better method in addressing terrorism, it is easier said than done. Soft approach and hard approach are very closely associated. As an enforcement agency, we blend both measures and make them work hand in glove with each other. Let me now single out those measures formulated in Malaysian counter-terrorism environment. The first one is on intelligence collection. Intelligence collection is the mother of all counter-terrorism initiatives. Without intelligence, we are doomed. Only intelligence can help us detect and disrupt terrorism-related activities. It was through solid intelligence that Royal Malaysian Police successfully foiled 18 plots by Daesh in Malaysia. But intelligence collection must not stand alone. It must be complemented with the element to share, as Daesh is omnipresent. Again, only with the philosophy of need to share, we can totally defeat Daesh and make the world a safer place. Disruption operations by Royal Malaysian Police against militant elements was rigorously launched after the shocking 911 incident in 2001. Massive arrests were conducted against members of Al-Qaeda, Jemaah Semah, Darul Islam, Abu Sayyaf Group, Liberation Tiger of Tamil Ilam, and others under the Internal Security Act or ISA. Since 2012, Syrian conflict, and after the ISA was repealed, 349 Daesh elements have been apprehended by the way of Security Offences Special Measure Acts, SOSMA, Prevention of Crime Act or POCA, and Prevention of Terrorism Act or POTA. The anti-Daesh campaign have been managed as follows. Prosecuted 162, convicted 101, detained under POCA 47, detained under POTA 27, deported 33, released 79, pending investigation 5. Prevention is another important aspect of countering the threat of terrorism. Since Daesh-related activities surfaced in Malaysia toward the end of 2013, the Royal Malaysian Police successfully launched preemptive actions against 18 plots to conduct domestic attacks in Malaysia. Next is community engagement. Modern-day terrorism exploit religion to achieve its objectives. The Daesh threat is a classic example. To counter such maneuvering, the Royal Malaysian Police involved in community engagement with multiple agency support such as National Security Council and Religious Department. This community engagement approach is vital. People must be given awareness, understanding, and reminders of the danger being promoted by Daesh through its Salafi jihadi ideology. We must expose Daesh-manufactured distortion and legal repercussion against those affiliated to Daesh. These measures will perhaps ensure the public are not misled by the rhetoric and propaganda disseminated by Daesh, which claims to be upholding Islam and struggling to establish a true Islamic nation. These programs are directed at general public and private institutes of higher learning, government departments, media, religious departments, state muftis, forum participants, mosque-based religious classes, and village security and development community, among others. The Royal Malaysian Police is also roped in during community engagement program organized by other government and private agencies, such as National Security Council and Religious Department. Since 2014, a total of 800 explanatory programs were conducted by the Counter-Terrorism Division for beneficially foreign terrorist groups that had either attempted to use Malaysia as an operational base, recruitment platform, or logistical procurement center, are largely due to the implementation of a solid strategic cooperation and collaboration. Among the notable successes achieved due to cooperation and collaboration between foreign partners are as follows. Arrest of 25 senior Liberation Tiger of Tamil Islam leaders since 2009 who attempted to establish operational bases in Malaysia. All 25 were handed over to the Sri Lankan authorities for further action. Arrest of 7 senior members of Baba Khalsa International since 2010, wanted by the Indian authorities for series of bombing in Punjab. Arrest of 30 East Turkmenistan Islamic Movement members wanted by Chinese authorities since 2011. Arrest of Al-Shabaab leader holding U.S. citizenship. Subject was handed over to the U.S. authorities. Arrest of Jabhat al-Nusrah, commander in Syria, who was seeking treatment in Malaysia. Subject was handed over to Saudi authorities for necessary action. The last one, arrest of Kosovan Daesh hacker. Subject was reported to face criminal charges in U.S. The Royal Malaysian Police share intelligence gathered for debriefings of arrested terrorist operatives in Malaysia with foreign partners whose countries were target of terror plot. One such information from Royal Malaysian Police helped deter a terrorist attack on the peacekeeping mission deployed in Central Asia. In other case, intelligence channeled by Royal Malaysian Police foiled terrorist plots against 2 foreign consulates based in South Asia. What is the level of cooperation between the Royal Malaysian Police and other regional and global enforcement agencies? Last Friday, during the 15th anniversary of International Counter-Terrorism Cooperation held in Bali, Indonesia, General Goris Meri, the Indonesian President Advisor, highlighted the Royal Malaysian Police was the closest ally to Indonesia in countering terrorism issue faced since 2002. A picture paints 1,000 words. I have been working with General Tito since years 2000. At that time, both of us were still a junior officer. In countering terrorism threat, which is trans-border in nature, the Royal Marshal Police adopts a firm and proactive stand in denying any plan by terrorist groups, be it local or foreign, to turn Malaysia into the safe haven. As mentioned earlier, the Royal Marshal Police has undertaken various actions to disrupt and dismantle terrorist networks and arrest its members associated to groups such as LTTE, BKI, Al-Shabaab, Jamaat Ansarut Tawhid, Al-Qaeda, and ITIM. All foreign suspects apprehended are deported to their respective countries of origin to face legal proceedings. The Malaysian government, or to be precise, the Royal Malaysian Police, maintains a strict and steady stand on safe havens. Foreign and domestic terrorist groups will never be allowed to establish safe havens or bases, either to plan and launch attack on a third country. We are aware of certain countries that condone such activities simply because of indifferences with the targeted state. Such a policy is detrimental, as there is nothing to prevent the terrorist element from staging an attack on the host nation due to certain pressing issues. The host nation then becomes a victim of intimidation or extortion. If only every nation adopts an uncompromising stand on safe havens, which is favored by mobile terrorist groups, I believe international terrorism will be easily wiped out. Since 1960, Malaysia has had a preventive legislation on terrorism at its disposal, namely the Internal Security Act, or ISA. Though the ISA was immensely criticized, it was considered an effective tool in addressing threats posed by communists, terrorists, and militant and divisionists that emerged between 1960s and 2000. In finding a balancing act and maintaining both human rights and security simultaneously, the government repealed the ISA and introduced fresh legislation to counter terrorism, such as SOSMA, POCA, POTA, and special measures against terrorism in foreign countries, or SMATA. SOSMA allows a terrorist suspect to be detained for a period of 29 days. The suspect must be prosecuted or released before the expiry of 29 days remand. If the evidence against the suspect is unable to secure a conviction, suspect can be rearrested under POCA or POTA, which provides a remand period of 59 days for further inquiries. This remand order is issued by a magistrate. A crime or terrorism prevention board consisting of a serving high court judge, prominent practicing lawyers, and retired senior civil servants will determine the case brought against the suspect. The board has the discretion to issue either a police supervision or detention order, or even unconditionally release the suspect. The special measures against terrorism in foreign countries, or SMATA, is meant to obstruct the travel of terrorist suspects. In the past, rehabilitation program of militants and religious extremists, detainees were thoroughly and effectively organized with assistance from various government agencies such as the Malaysian Islamic Development Department, National Security Council, State Religious Department, and Public and Private Institute of Higher Learning. The rehabilitation process on detainee begins when detention order is issued. The detainee is placed under the supervision of Prison Department, which has its own comprehensive rehabilitation program involving disciplinary development, facility enhancement program, and evaluation by Prison Department, Malaysian Islamic Development Department, and the Royal Malaysian Police. Meanwhile, the Royal Malaysian Police also complement by organizing special rehabilitation program for detainees in more conducive environment beyond the Kampung Ting camp. These tailored programs are conducted by Royal Malaysian Police with assistance from religious department and invited lecturers from local universities and religious institutions. Also included are counseling sessions with Royal Malaysian Police officers that have counseling background. Rehabilitation program organized jointly by Ministry of Home Affairs and Royal Malaysian Police achieved a success rate of 97%. This rate is based on the fact that only 7 from 239 ISA detainees subjected to the program experienced relapse. As for SOSMA, POTA and POCA detainees, the Royal Malaysian Police has completed 3 rehabilitation programs involving 50 inmates. The programs were tailored accordingly to the ISA format. It is too early to assess the effectiveness of this program. Apart from a special rehabilitation program for militant elements, the Royal Malaysian Police is also responsible in organizing special re-education program for the families of detainees and militant members who are still at large. These categories of people were invited for ex-military and dialogue sessions with the Royal Malaysian Police, where all complaints and doubts with regard to legal procedures, ideological aspect, and welfare were discussed and addressed accordingly. The reintegration of former detainees is vital aspect of countering radicalization and violent extremism. The Royal Malaysian Police has to ensure that ex-detainees are able to revert to their past life and return to the mainstream of society. Among steps taken to achieve these goals are as follows: assist in securing their previous jobs with the cooperation for their former employers. For the record, several senior JI leaders who were held under detention orders have become successful businessmen and own several companies. Some are lecturing and many return to their original workplace. We have continued to interact and assist released militant detainees. They have been invited to attend various programs, including Breaking Fast and Reunion program organized by Royal Malaysian Police. By combining soft and hard approach measures according to the rule of law, the Royal Malaysian Police have successfully contained the threat of terrorism. Since 2013, Malaysian Special Branch successfully foiled 18 attempts by Daesh elements to conduct domestic attack in Malaysia. Of the 18 plots, 7 were at phase 2, including 3 lone wolf style, where Daesh operative had procured chemicals, ammunition, and other related bomb-making material. The other 11 plots remain at phase 1, where only discussion and delegation of tasks took place. Among the terror plot foiled by the Royal Malaysian Police included attempts to attack Western interests, entertainment outlet, vice den, federal buildings, police station, military camps, apart from staging armed heists, kidnapping of VVIP, and plans to launch attack during the SEA Games and National Day celebrations. Unfortunately, on 28 June last year, Daesh managed to conduct a grenade attack on a pub in Puchong, Selangor. This was the first Daesh attack on Malaysian soil. 2 of the perpetrators were apprehended within hours of the attack, while another 2 cell members fled for a month before being detained. All 4 were prosecuted and convicted. The later success of Royal Malaysian Police was in the apprehending of 3 Daesh suspects, including 19-year-old student who plotted to conduct IED attack in Klang Valley in conjunction with the Oktoberfest celebration. The suspect had manufactured 6 IEDs containing low explosive and ball bearings and successfully tested 3 of them. The remaining 3 IED were reserved for beer festival. This cell is categorized as Wolfpack, operating with 3 members, limited fund, having no link to Daesh members either based in Malaysia or Syria. Since 2016, we have seized several improvised explosive devices fully developed by local IS operatives who had acquired the necessary expertise. The seized IED was then handed over to our bomb disposal unit for reconstruction and detonation. This was the impact of its cost. This is a 200-gram IED seized in Selangor.
Fire in the hole! Fire in the hole! Take cover! Fire! Ready, ma?
200 gram only. Next one is a 300-gram pipe bomb, also seized in Selangor.
Okay.
Fire in the hole! Fire in the hole! Fire in the hole! Take cover! 1, 2, 3!
Dapat.
Jangan dulu, tunggu dulu.
Dapat.
And the third one is 2 kilogram vehicle-borne IED or VBIED recovered in Selangor. Observe the impact of its explosion. Two kilogram. And the last one that we have confiscated, the 3 IED seized in Pasir Putih, Kelantan. This IED contained ball bearing and had a killing range of 20 meters.
Dia letak dia letak dalam tu. Yes. Tak tahu berapa putih lah kalau nak.
Ball bearing.
Itulah tadi kata apa dito semua tak nak bagi kat atas tu. Tak nak ajar orang. Kena ada bukti kan. Tapi satu je tu letup semua. Tuan bunyi ah. Tak pasal saya boleh tak boleh ni tak dalam. Ni tak dalam. Dalam. Tak dalam, dah habis. Jangan apa dah. Dalam tadi dalam kan. Dah, okey.
Among the national and police leaders targeted by Daesh is the Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, the IGP, and my own self. Recently, an Indonesian Daesh member issued a statement instigating Malaysian and Indonesian Daesh member to execute me before Hari Raya Puasa. 2 weeks. Next. In the context of Daesh threat, no security agency in the world is able to give a public 100% guarantee that it could deter the Daesh attack, particularly one that is launched by a lone wolf or a wolf pack. In countering Daesh attack in Malaysia, after its downfall in Iraq and Syria, the Royal Malaysian Police detected several lone wolf and wolf pack cells. Members of this cell have no link with other Daesh cells and were inspired to launch attack merely by surfing Daesh-related website and acquired the knowledge to produce IED through the internet. The threat posed by Daesh is not only unique and complex, but must be one that is long-standing. In the context, Royal Malaysian Police will resort to various approaches, be it soft or hard approach. Our main goal is to ensure Malaysia remains free for the threat of terrorism. As an enforcement agency entrusted with operational tasks, we fear not too much the criticism by the human rights advocates and the absence of evidence required to prefer charges against militant suspects. Unnecessary delay will be exploited fully by Daesh operatives to conduct terror attacks. To avoid a terror attack, prevention must be given priority at all times. Let me on record that human rights issues must be protected at all times, but this right must not supersede national security. Nations will adopt their own disruptive methods to counter the threat of terrorism. External power must not be allowed to interfere in these policies, particularly in the name of human rights. We should not be too distracted by calls to uphold human rights issues. We need to find a balance. There were countries claiming to be defenders of human rights have criticized our preventive law, but sadly, they too have detained terror suspects without trial since 2003. By incorporating the soft and hard approach, the Royal Malaysian Police, or the Counter-Terrorism Division to be precise, is confident in effectively addressing threat posed by terrorism. Thank you. Ampun, Tuan.
On behalf of all Malaysians, I'd like to thank Dato' Ayub Khan and his team for keeping us safe. And that presentation certainly shows us some scary facts and figures. Moving forward, I would like to invite Colonel Ann Wright to now present to you on this topic. And she is an individual who grew up in Arkansas, has a wide range of experiences, both in the military as well as a diplomat. But one of the highlights of her career was when she handed in her resignation to then Secretary of State Colin Powell, feeling that without the authorization of the UN Security Council, the US invasion and occupation of oil-rich Iraq would be a disaster, which repercussions are still presently felt. Please help me welcome Colonel Ann Wright to the stage.
His Royal Highness the Sultan of Perak, His Royal Highness the Regent of Perak, the Right Honorable Chief Minister of Perak, and the Honorable Vice Chancellor of the Sultan Azlan Shah University. And ladies and gentlemen, it's a real honor to be here today. Thank you very much for the kind invitation to be here and to be a part of this symposium today. It's a very important symposium, and as we've just seen from the police commissioner's presentation, we live in a dangerous world. We live in a very dangerous world. And then how do we, as the conference's theme is, how do we get to this thing called global peace when we're living in such a dangerous world? Well, I think one of the things that we have to do is to stop wars. I think that will help us get to global peace. Now, how do we do that? Well, I will take some responsibility on this. I think the invasion and occupation of Iraq has destabilized the world in ways that are unimaginable. And they're unimaginable in some very concrete ways, though, as we've seen where the police commissioner's presentation of young men and some young women who are very angry with the world. They're angry with the West, and they're angry specifically at the United States of America for its invasion and occupation of so many countries of the world. And I will, on behalf of many of the citizens of the United States, offer an apology to you and to the world for what my government has done. It's this destabilization of invasion and occupation of other people's countries. And you may have disputes with them, you may have disagreements with them, but I think in the interest of our own civilizations, of the world civilization, we can't use this violence against people to change them to what we think they should be. And the we I use kind of as a universal we, but I'll make it more specific to the United States, where I come from. What the United States is doing, I think, is inflaming many of these young men and women that are taking terrorist acts, not just against the United States, but certainly what happened on 9/11 had changed the world, and what we now as citizens of the world live through every single day. All of the precautions that are taken in the name of our safety. And we certainly see that from the previous presentation, there are active groups that want to destabilize not only the United States, but they want to destabilize any government that has any dealings with the United States, or governments that they have specific things that they don't like about what those governments are doing. So how do we get from this world where we are right now into a world of peace? I'll just tell you, I don't have the answers. But I do think that conferences like this are so important, where we will have an opportunity to discuss among people coming from all parts of the world how we can reduce the tensions in our own world, how we can reduce the tensions specifically in our communities. And I'll go back to my country again. I mean, we are in a very difficult time in the United States of America. We have seen our country change in the last year in another very different way. We now see that racism and hatred is at the forefront of the United States, something that I never thought that I would see again. And yet we see it now virtually every day, where people in the United States are emboldened to talk about others in very hateful, rude, and racist ways. That's something that we have to, in the United States, we have to address, and we have got to stop that. And I know it happens in other countries of the world, where we do speak of other ethnic groups, other religions in ways that are hurtful to people. And some people who have anger over these types of things do take violent actions against those that are making these comments toward them. In the United States, we have problems dealing with other cultures. And you all know very well what has happened in the last year, where in our globe, where we now have such a movement of people around the world, the migrations, the immigrants that are trying to move from places in the world where they feel they have no chance. They have no economic opportunities. They may not have educational opportunities. And they're moving to places where they think their lives are going to be better. And we look at what has happened from the Middle East, from Syria, from Iraq, from the wars that were precipitated by the United States, huge movements of people, millions of people that have come across the waters into the Mediterranean and then up into Europe, where over 1 million people have traveled up into Germany and Austria and Sweden, all through Europe, trying to escape violence and trying to find some other life for themselves. We see other types of refugees that are around the world. And as the Sultan mentioned, the horrific situation that's going on right now, where the Rohingya are fleeing massive violence from Myanmar. We see people in Yemen, hundreds of thousands of people in Yemen that have been bombed, that have been killed by the bombs that are coming from Saudi Arabia. In the United States, we have a system now where our refugee our refugee programs have been sliced, that they have been cut, that America used to offer great numbers of people an opportunity to come to our country. And yet now we are seeing that number has dropped from 120,000 a year down to 50,000 and probably going lower. We see that we now have a ban on 7 nationalities. Now, if you talk about destabilizing the world, these are some of the things that are happening right now. So for me in the United States, when I look at global peace, I have to look right in the eyes of my government to say, my government is not doing anything to help global peace right now. We are, in fact, destabilizing, not only in the Middle East, but when we talk about Northeast Asia, the nuclear situation there on the Korean Peninsula, where we have threats that are emanating from North Korea and then the United States, and back to North Korea and back to the United States. These are things that we as citizens of the world are very, very concerned about, that we are, I wouldn't say without hope, but I think we're all pretty scared about what's happening right now. So when we have a conference like this, a conference on world peace, when we look to a conference of thought and religion, not thought and civilization, Islamic thought and civilization, and I would say it's world thought and civilization. And we appreciate so much what the Islamic community and the Islamic world is doing by bringing us all together to talk about that. I'm not going to speak very long. I know we've been here a long time, and it's time to get moving on other things. But I just wanted to mention one other part. The Sultan mentioned the two words, trust and inclusivity. And I'll just mention one other word, and that is the word amal. Amal, it means hope. And that was one of the name of the women's vote to Gaza. Hope, that we all hope that we will work together, for a better world, a better civilization. One of the themes that we have here in the Global Peace is women in peacemaking, and I look forward to talking to one half of this community here, and even more of them, the men too, but the role of women in building peace, not only in our families, but in our local communities, our national communities, and our international communities. So it's with great pleasure and honor that I thank you all so very much for the kind opportunity to be here, and for all of us, global peace. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Colonel Ann Wright, who's not only a participant of the Flotilla Challenger to Gaza. It is an all-women flotilla. She's not just a participant on that boat, but she is the captain of that boat, ladies and gentlemen. Let's give her a round of applause. And ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, I would like to invite you now to applaud our participants of the distinguished sessions and thank them for their presentations. Thank you, participants and presenters. I would like to invite you to kindly return to your seats. Thank you all for your sharing, truly benefiting us all with your insight and knowledge. We shall be hearing more from these distinguished presenters throughout the conference, as there'll be more dialogue with them, and you will get to also pose questions to some of them throughout the duration of our event. Ampun Tuanku, Your Highnesses, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the 4th World Conference on Islamic Thought and Civilization 2017 will now be in recess and will continue at 2:30 p.m. after lunch and the Zuhur prayers. Ampun Tuanku, beribu-ribu ampun, sembah patik mohon diampun. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please do kindly remain in this hall, announcing the departure of His Royal Highness, the Sultan of Perak, Darul Rizwan, and His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince of Perak, Darul Rizwan, accompanied by the Right Honourable Menteri Besar Perak, the Honourable Vice Chancellor of University, Sultan Azlan Shah, and our distinguished guests. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you with the designated sticker, you are invited to the Royal Banquet Hall, which is hosted just next to the hall adjacent to this one. So please do kindly proceed for your luncheon, which will be served at the banquet hall just next to this one.